just like take a break and try to figure out like where you're at in a point in time, and kind of like hold you accountable for like what you've been supposedly accused of doing. And like we're really there just to kind of let you know like, yo, there's a lot of opportunities for you guys that you guys can take advantage of to get you guys out of this like destructive path. Because for a lot of young people, how many of you guys have a job? All right. Out of y'all who didn't raise your hand, how come you guys don't have a job? Fine. What else? Never really left. What else?
Ineligible.
Ineligible. All right.
Because my skill set isn't good enough.
All right. So I can tell you guys this: there's so many opportunities. As you know, as young as 14 years old, you can get a job in San Francisco. A lot of them in school. A lot of kids don't know that. So you know, their ultimate thing is like, I'm gonna try to figure out like what's my hustle to go get what I need to get. And so like I can tell you that from speaking from my point of view, like that's like one of the biggest things that we usually hook up a kid with when they come through our doors. That's like one of the biggest things, like, is getting them a job. And so like that's just like one thing that I can know that you guys can all relate to, that I can point out. And you know, other things is like helping you guys out, like let's say you guys having family problems. Thanks to Megan, who is one of our therapists. Like she really is great at what she does. We can kind of like help you guys talk about like services that you guys may need that can help, like, you know, just improve like the things that you guys are kind of going through. Yeah, so I think I work better with like questions. So I'm gonna let Megan first talk about like her role, and then I'll go back to me. Cool.
I stand here second.
Perfect.
Okay, so my name's Megan. I am a social worker, and my job at CARC is I'm a therapist. And so, what I love about my job in particular is that I have, like Harvey was saying, I have all these case managers around that, you know, nobody loves to go to therapy, right? And so a lot of what the case managers will do will be working to kind of convince a lot of the youth that we work with that therapy is not that bad and can be kind of helpful. And so then they bring in the youth to my office, and I'll start meeting with kids normally like once a week or 3 to 6 months or something like that, working on whatever the youth wants to work on. So like, I'm not going to say, you have family problems, I'm forcing you to talk about your family. It's more focusing on, okay, kind of like what Harvey was saying, like, where do you want to get to in life, and how can we get you there? So like, maybe you are having problems at home, so we can do family therapy to try to calm that stuff down so you can actually focus on school to end up getting a job and doing what you want to do. Or kind of working on, I'm bored, there's nothing to do, what kind of stuff am I ever interested in? Like, oh, actually I keep getting busted for tagging, let's turn that into like an artistic talent, and then a case manager can hook you up with an art program or something like that. And so that's basically what I do. Like, I think a lot of times people think kids in the juvenile justice system have all these mental health problems, like they're always angry, they're always, depressed, they smoke tons, they drink tons. But I feel like, at least kids in San Francisco, it's like kind of regular kids are in our system, and there's not a lot of huge problems that they're going through, but a lot of our kids get busted for possession of marijuana or tagging or all that kind of stuff. And so there aren't a lot of big mental health problems that the kids are going through. That's it. Can we open it up for questions?
Okay, so you all have spent a lot of time developing very good questions to ask our speakers today, so use this time.
And we're going to pass out some flyers of like what we do and stuff like that. There's pictures on the back and some success stories of kids that have come through our agency. I don't have to read it now, but it's like a little literature for you guys to have.
do you guys feel that there's a target age that are inside the juvenile system or race?
Age, I feel like a lot of the kids that we work with end up being about 15 or 16. And race, we get every kind of kid coming through our doors.
Actually, it's a popular question. Like a lot of people, like a lot of my friends or people who don't know about like the juvenile justice system always ask me. Like, so I've been in the field for a while. People would always ask me like, so what kind of kids come to the program, or what kind of kids get arrested? You know, they want me to describe like certain features, where they're from, what their background is, and I can honestly tell them like, you know, it could be anybody. Like really, there isn't really anybody who like I can specifically say like, you know, this specific ethnicity is coming through this way. It's like it's like across the board, pretty much.
Kids from every school.
Yeah. Every neighborhood, ages. I mean, we work with youth ages 11 to 17, just to give you guys a picture. So we can get a kid all the way from like 6th grade, all the way up to being a senior, or even like somebody already graduated from high school as like a freshman in college, for real. That's like literally like the range that we work with.
What's the youngest that you ever worked with?
11.
11?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
11 years old. For real.
They're like.
It's kind of like not too personal, but like
Yeah.
not a personal thing. Like,
Okay.
so for both of you guys, like, I mean, have you experienced that stuff when you were, are you from here?
Yeah,
That's
born and
okay.
raised.
Okay, so, yeah, have you been in those experiences yourself, having to go through the system? And also, like, kind of from your writing, I wanted to ask if you used to do graffiti.
Off the record, because we're getting recorded, I have a lot of friends who have been involved with the system. I can speak firsthand that I've shared a lot of experiences amongst my friends. And yeah, for real, like I was like I don't know if we could talk about that, but like my experience, the reason why I got into even working in this field is because somebody did it for me. You know what I mean? And you don't even have to be like that, like, because I talk to college students all the time about like inspiring them to get into our field. And like really for me, like I tell them like you don't even have to go through it in order to like work in this field. All you gotta do really is have heart. But like I just so happen to go through the experience. So it really like just like it's like my fuel every day. You know what I mean? Like I love like working with young people because like you guys like you can do whatever you want, and I know you guys hear this every day. But like I really do feel that because I'm standing here. I wasn't supposed to go to college and I went. You know what I mean? So I'm here today, like for real.
Do you guys like explain to your young people that like judging by, I mean, have you ever got somebody that record was just like heck them in so they can't really get a job? You know, like somebody that got like say like they have a felony on their record or something like that, and they can't really get a job or can't really do nothing with that. Somebody want to hire a thief. So like, how do you guys work with that? Like, do you guys like help them still get a job? Do you help them with their life? Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to get back on your feet when you come back to something like that.
You speaking more for youth or an adult?
Like youth. Cause like I mean, cause like can't like you had that on your like on your little record or something?
Yeah, you can get a strike. But like we still help them. Like a lot of like what's cool about living in San Francisco, again I could talk on this, is that in San Francisco there's like a lot of money invested for youth who get in trouble. And so like for youth to get in trouble, there's a lot of programs that are set up that they can access. One being in particular, like, there's a big like employment like push. So because you know it's like one of the biggest things is like what people think is like in order to like to keep you out of trouble is to keep them busy, and like you know what more than like a job would be like so beneficial, like everything from like not only earning their own money, right, you also getting like life experiences you can take for yourself, as well as like really just like really finding out like what you may want to do. Like I guarantee you, if I went across the room right now and I asked each and every one of you guys like what you guys wanted to do with your life, it'd be across the board. And that's the beautiful part about it. And there's so many opportunities for you guys in the city. And so like I said, like we don't turn anybody away. It's really what really matters is like if the youth is ready, because y'all got to be ready in order if you guys really want to help. Because that's like my biggest thing. That's one of the things that I have realized. Like you can't make anybody do something that they don't want to do. So yeah.
I have two questions.
Okay.
The first one is, what do you do with kids that have like a strong mental illness? Like, do you provide like therapy, or if they need medication, or give them the research for that? And yeah, that's the first one. I'm trying to reword
That's cool.
the second one.
Yeah. So before I answer, I know Megan will be able to answer this, but before like I even talk about Megan's position, like so if a youth were to come in and like let's say they had severe like mental health issues, like, it would come out in the, I think some of it would come out in the assessment, because like, within the interview, right, there's like some questions that like, if somebody really wasn't all there, they wouldn't be able to focus, and I get that a lot. And so like, what I would do is like, I would make note of that, like, you know what I mean, like within my interview with them. And then like, at the very end of all our interviews, right, we do what's called a case plan, and it's kind of like a care plan. It's like an outline of how we can move forward to like, help this young person get to where they need to be. And so, on that paper, like, I would, for sure, like, one of the main things is like, writing that down, and then like, I would like, come outside, consult with Meg, like I said, that's why we're so blessed to have Megan in the office, because that's where she comes in, you know, with her tool belt, because she went to school for that stuff. And so like, she, you know, I could tell her a little about what I was exhibiting with that young person, and then she totally comes in, she's, you know, she's not scared of going inside there, and she's like, totally, she can tell you like, all about, like, what the next steps would be.
Yeah, so I feel, you know, there's always a range of, some people are totally mentally healthy, right? Some people are a little less so. And so, I think, like, I depend on, for instance, Harvey's, like, okay, so he'll describe the kid, be like, well, he was acting like this, he was talking like this, and kind of try to make my own, what do you call it? I don't want to say diagnosis, but my own opinion, maybe, of what's happening. And then I would think it's really important to involve the parents, too, because parents see the kid at home, has had the whole, like, 15, 16 years of knowing them, kind of trying to figure out what's going on for them. And then, so the kid can come meet with me for individual meetings, doing family stuff. There's so many resources in San Francisco too, so, you know, we're at Market and Goff, and so if a kid lives in the Bayview, then we'll try to find some mental health services in the Bayview, so it'll be more convenient to them. And we don't have a psychiatrist on staff, but if the youth ends up needing like medication or something like that, then we can always refer them to a psychiatrist to get those services too. So it's and I think the great thing about having all the case managers is that I don't have to do all that work myself. I can be like, Harvey, find me a psychiatrist, or Harvey, where's the closest place to da da da. And so it's this really great team atmosphere where we can really try to figure out what the best services for the person is.
Okay, so after they get arrested, they're sent here to this program?
To Clark.
Yeah. What if they don't want to take part in the thing, or like they don't think that they need help, or they have mental illnesses, but on the outside they look fine? What happens? Can they just leave? Is it like a voluntary program?
So our services are voluntary, but for the time that they're there, we have to wait until their parents pick them up, because they're considered in our custody. That's why we have a sheriff that's on site that makes sure that they don't like wild out and stuff like that. But in terms of like, if they want to like work with us, it's voluntary, like as I mentioned. So like, if you felt like you know, it was a mistake and that you didn't need any type of services at all, then we would like document that. But we'd always let them know that like, you never know, like you may not need anything now, but like maybe in the summer when your time frees up, let's say like you have all kinds of like activities you're already doing right now, call us in the summer. You know what I mean? Let's get you a job for the summer. Like, they don't really have to want it. I mean, they don't really have to work with us at that point, but the probation stuff is mandatory. Like, anything that the probation officer assigns them is mandatory. So they got to do that in order to seal the record. If they don't, one, they can't seal the record, and two, you won't be able to get your driver's license. Yeah.
So that part is voluntary. It's like, it's kind of a mandatory voluntary. Like, you're supposed to, the probation officer will say like, okay, for shoplifting, I'm going to give you have to take a class and 15 hours of community service at Glide. And so then each kid has the choice to do it or not. And if they do it, then they can go ahead and eventually clear their record and have like clean slate. But if they don't do it, then there's some other consequences that maybe the next time they get arrested, they wouldn't be able to come to us and they would actually go up to juvenile hall, or, you know, there's sort of some they kind of go up a level if they don't do what they're supposed to do with us.
Going back to the mental health, so how often do you run into a case where somebody is mentally ill, like aside from drinking or smoking, any drug abuse, etc.?
So, how can I answer that? Like from your perspective, what does somebody look like who's mentally ill?
I mean, anywhere from like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder,
Big stuff.
yeah.
I feel like the majority of the kids that I work with, sometimes they're depressed, sometimes they've had lots of trauma in their lives, and they've had like heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, or like you said, a lot of substance abuse kind of problems. Some people have a lot of anger issues, and so they're getting arrested at school. The kind of bigger stuff doesn't normally come to us. I would say maybe, I don't really want to say a number, but like probably less than 5% of our kids have really significant mental health issues. I think, unfortunately, probably a lot of those kids end up going to juvenile hall instead of coming to us.
What do you guys think about all the, these youth with the mentally ill stuff? What do you think about them going to prisons instead of programs like this?
I think it's really hard, right? Because I think if the reason that they're getting arrested, if the reason they're doing the stuff that they're doing is so related to their mental health issues, then, you know, like you were saying, how are they going to be rehabilitated in jail? I think that's what's so great about our program is that we have, you know, we can, through the assessment, through the case managers, really getting to know the people that we work with and the families, then they can really get the help that they need then, instead of potentially waiting and not getting the help that they need.
Isn't this located, I'm sorry, not to be off topic, but isn't this located kind of like on the Haight, kind of like, wait, this one is located in the Haight, you guys have two, right?
We have a couple, yeah. So ours is
Oh my God.
on it's on 44 Gough Street in between Market and Otis, but it's on the bottom of Haight. Like when Haight meets Market, that's where we're at.
You
Now,
guys have, like,
Huckleberry House.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
one, oh, so you guys don't have housing and stuff like that, huh?
Well, we have the Huckleberry House, not at our place.
Oh, you gotta go to the Huckleberry House to like get like some sleep and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Cause
So
I'm
our
not-
place is only a temporary holding facility. We can only hold kids up for more than, I think no more than like 6 hours, I believe. Until then, we gotta transport them to Huckleberry House or like to their parents' house. But it's not a locked facility, so I did forget to mention that. So like, for youth coming into CART, it's not jail, so you guys will be able to get to go home after like we go through like all like the interview process and like the case and stuff like that. So yeah.
And then, so we work for Huckleberry Youth Program, which is a big program, and then there's all little programs. So Park is one of those programs, Huckleberry House is a program, Full Time Clinic is another program, then the Wellness Academy too.
Alright, so this one is more for like juvenile people though, right? Cause Huckleberry House would be more for like people that's like, what, like runaways and stuff like that, right?
Or kids having some problems with their parents, like we have a lot of kids who like work with us too that like aren't really like feeling their parents right now, or not like really liking their living situation, and so we can refer them to Huckleberry House, take them there, because they also have therapists at Huckleberry House too. Like if Megan, like let's say Megan's caseload's full, she'll be like, that's perfect that they're going there, because there's like we have a whole bunch of therapists up there too. Yeah.
Do you have to be somebody that got arrested or in the juvenile system that can go to you guys? Can you be like a random person, like a random new person that you know?
The CART?
No, I mean like to like anywhere, like any of y'all little programs, like you have to be a person that in juvenile system?
So for our program, yes. For the CART program, yeah. So you can call us, any youth can call us, and any person, youth, parent, whatever, we're like a resource center too. So like parents can call us, you can call us, and we can tell you guys about jobs and stuff. Or we can just tell you guys like, yo, like there's somewhere down the block where you guys can go and somebody can do the same work that we doing. But for like the other agencies, like how Megan mentioned, like the Wellness Academy, like you don't have to be involved in the juvenile justice system. Huckleberry House, you don't have to be involved in the juvenile justice system either. Yeah, all our programs except for the CART program is the only one really that you don't gotta be involved in the juvenile justice.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna ask, what do you think, like, one of the biggest challenges that, kids in the juvenile justice system face, like, in order to get out of the juvenile justice system? Like, what is one of the challenges that they face that keeps them from leaving the system?
What I would say from my perspective as a therapist is I think a lot of times people, there's so many judgments that society and families and everybody has about somebody who's been arrested. And if they've been like Carter's saying, wilding out and just being crazy, I feel like teachers think negatively of the kids, the families are like, I can't handle this kid anymore. You know, everybody has all these negative views of the kid. And so I think that's like my favorite thing to do is like to work with the youth to help people see them in a positive light again. Because I think without that, it's too hard to get out of it, I guess.
From my personal opinion, I think what's really hard about a young person is like being involved with the juvenile justice system, primarily if they graduate and go to like probation side, is it's really hard to get off probation. Like, you know what I mean? You really got to be dedicated to get off of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that's like you really gotta invest like yourself as well as like also like there's certain things that like I feel like that like a youth can't really get a grasp of, like, you know, because as a young person, I mean just as a person period, only you can really like honestly say like you have ownership over your actions, whereas like let's say you have some friends or like some family who like are still like doing like the things that you're not supposed to be doing while you're on probation. And so I feel like that like all those temptations, as well as like let's just say you just getting wrapped for like just being with somebody for like having like something on them, you know what I mean, and you're violated. And then from getting violated, like, you know what I mean, you can get deeper into the system. I mean, probation can easily be as little as 6 months to as long as like 2 years, you know what I mean? And then that could range anywhere from being at home on probation or being taken out of the house. And so like, yeah, I mean, that, I would say like that's like, I feel like that's like one of the biggest things is like, if you really wanted to help somebody, like taking everything into account, like, because if you really like, I don't know, it's just hard. It's like I can go like on and on and on. But it's just like that's one of the factors that I feel like is really key. Like, because if a youth just went to and from the house every day, I would still say like maybe like on the way home they can get into something on the bus, and then like that could be looked at as something that like is a violation, and then from there it can just add so many more problems to this person's life when they really weren't at fault. You know what I mean? So I would say that, but like.